Alright guys, welcome back to another video on Diablo 4. In this video, I want to show you guys what type of stats you really need to make your character stronger. Alright, I think the stats I'm going to show you guys, it's not really just for Barbarian, it's really for all class. But I'm playing Barbarian, so I would say for Barbarian specifically, I will show you guys what type of stats you need to make your character to be more powerful. Right now I'm level 86. Like I'm not like super hardcore and no life this game whatsoever. I still have a 9 to 5 job. Right, I was able to get to level 86, and the highest nightmare dungeon I was able to complete is level tier 54. All right, I wasn't able to do a 55. The reason being is I have enough damage, right? I just could not survive the level 55 mob. It's gonna one-shotting me. But I think I do have a decent knowledge of how Barbarians different type of stats works. So I'm gonna make this video show you guys what type of stats you should aim for your character. Alright, so again, I think this video is gonna benefit all players, but I'm just speaking as a Barbarian player's perspective. Alright, so let's get right into it. I'm playing Whirlwind Barbarian. I think this is the strongest build to date yet. Strongest Barbarian build. There are other different builds such as Hammer of Ancient that require player to have some decent skill of the game. Alright, and then there is another way of playing Barbarian, like building really high Thorn, right? That's another way, but let's just take a look at how gearing works. For Whirlwind or Hammer Ancient Barbarian, one of the most important thing is the weapon item level. A lot of people underestimate the power of this. For example, this weapon is level 7099 plus 25, right? Weapon damage is very important for Barbarian. It will directly impact the damage of Whirlwind. So even if you got like a perfect rolled weapon, but the item level is 760, it's not enough. Alright? Secondary stats is something you can roll for, but you cannot roll on item power. So you have to use, like, if we're talking about World Tier 4, level 70 and above, you have to get a weapon that you use that's close to item level 800. It's very important. Alright, so for Whirlwind Barbarian, you have to use this two-handed sword or two-handed axe, right? And for Hammer of Ancient, I think it's using this one. It's using the mace or hammer. So it's the weapon on the left. You're gonna look for the item level here. But since I'm playing Whirlwind Barbarian, this is the weapon I use, two-handed swords, right? And the other three weapons, the item level does not matter. That's the good thing. Alright, the item level here does not matter. What you are looking for is the good secondary stats. Alright, so for the mace here, the main stats here is the overpowered damage. This is something you cannot change. It will always be overpowered damage, right? This line here is always going to be overpowered damage, but the 4 different stats here on the bottom, this is something you can change. Alright, and what you're gonna be aiming for is let me visualize this better. Only 3 things you're gonna aim for. The most important thing is crit damage. This is #1 priority. The second thing you're gonna aim for is vulnerable damage. Second most important thing. Alright, I'm gonna talk about this in a bit. The third most important thing is the main stats. So it really depends on what class you're playing. For Barbarians, or obviously it's strength, right? You can benefit from plus 80 strength, for example, and you can benefit from all stats, right? Also, I have a piece of gear like this. It gives you like 5.6% strength, something like that. So these 3 things are the most important thing that really can boost your damage, and that's it. Only these 3. The reason being is I see other like hardcore content creator did a lot of testing on this, and they are saying that these three things are multiplicative, right? Are multiplicative, and everything else that gives you damage boost are additive. So maybe I can, let me try to find a way to visualize this, to visualize what I'm talking about. Let me open up a notebook here. All right, so this is a notebook. What multiplicative means is, let's see, an item gives me 50% increased crit damage, right? And another item gives me 50% increased vulnerable damage. So with that being said, the final number, the damage boost is gonna be 225%. This is multiplicative, right? And if we're talking about anything else like additional damage to close enemy, additional core skill damage, all the other things are additive. So if you get another 50% increase to core skill, this is gonna work like this. Sorry, it mean to be an ad here, alright? This is gonna work like this. I'm just visualizing this like I'm teaching math, alright? So you can clearly see which is better, right? You have to get vulnerable damage, crit damage, or strength. These things are multiplicative. Like skill damage, core skill damage, or skill damage to close enemy or distant enemy. This looks good, but on paper, it is not. This is the conclusion I got from other hardcore player doing hundreds of testing. Alright, it is what it is. So you guys gonna avoid making mistake here. So let me just put it more clearly. The first thing, crit damage, right? The #1 priority. The second thing, vulnerable damage. Alright, the third thing is your main stats. I think for the main stats, it's also very important that you have some piece of gear that gives you all stats. For example, this one I have right here, and I have a couple more that gives me all stats. It's very important because once you reach your higher level, you unlock this Paragon level, right? For example, this one, it requires you to get 430 willpower, but I don't have enough. If I have this unlocked, I will get a massive stats boost. Look at this, for example. Havoc, right? If I got 450 dexterity, I get 15% increased crit strike, right? It's really, really good. It's really good. So don't just pick items that gives you 80 main stats. You're gonna need item that gives you all stats. It's very important. Alright. Then for secondary, like anything else that is additive, for example, core skill damage, right? And then for Barbarian, it's damage, I think it damage to close enemy, something like that. Also, you have damage to bleed enemy, I believe. All these are additive. It looks great. I have a lot of these on my gear also, because I didn't know this until very lately. I finally found out about this, right? For example, let's take a look at my gear. I have this core damage on my mace here, right? But this is not that good, this core damage. I would rather have strength here, because this is just gonna give me additive 57%. And for example, these ones, these one-handed weapon, I have damage to slowed enemy, damage to close enemy. These are not good, and maybe I should reroll these. And then this one, I have damage to close enemy, damage to crowd control enemy. Again, these are additive, not garbage. It's just they can be better, you know. And I think in terms of weapon, only mace always have this overpowered damage on the main stats, right? And for the other three weapon, the main stats has to be crit strike damage, which is crit damage basically. So this top row, right, has to be crit strike damage. All these three has to be crit strike damage. If you're playing Whirlwind Barbarian and you're picking weapon, if the weapon's main stats is not crit strike damage, it's a instant sell, right? Because main stat is not something you can reroll. the stat that is on the top. You cannot reroll this, right? So all these weapons are not perfect. You just always want like these ones: crit damage, vulnerable damage, main stats, and that's it. That's how you can boost your barbarian's damage. And but one thing I really wanna suggest you guys to do is don't focus, like don't use everything that gives you damage, because once you push to higher level of Nightmare Key, survivability is gonna be a big thing, right? So if we take a look at this armor here, I think in Nightmare Dungeon it's very easily you can get to 1000 armor. It says it will give you 100% physical damage reduction, but that's actually not the case, because the mobs you're facing in Nightmare Dungeon has much higher level than you, and I think this 100% will not be accurate. This means against the mob that is the same level as you will get this percentage of damage reduction, but against higher level mob, you will not get the same amount of damage reduction. So it's still very important to have survivability. For example, this one, I'm using a defensive one, right? A lot of damage reduction, a lot of total armor, and it gives me a barrier when I'm hitting an elite enemy, right? And for the boots, I'm using this unique item, but it's not necessary. This is not the best one for Barbarian. Barbarian does not need a unique boots, alright? And for this one, for example, I'm using a defensive legendary power, which gives me 75% additional armor. It's really necessary that you need defensives, alright? And as for the two rings, still, these rings are gonna give you a huge damage boost. What you're gonna be looking for here is the crit strike rate. This is very important, alright? For example, on my gear, I have 25% crit. The reason that I can get to much higher than this is I have a legendary power here. Each second you channel Whirlwind, it's gonna give you 48% increased crit, right? So this is gonna be close to 70%. And there's another consumable that gives you 15% increased crit. You can use that as well. So a Whirlwind Barbarian will have close to 100% crit. That's why crit damage is super important. As for the two rings, like I mentioned, the legendary power is pretty much fixed. You can only use these two. There are no other choice. The first one is your shell skill is gonna give you additional fury per second. The second one is the shell skill will have reduced cooldown. The legendary power for the ring are always gonna be these two. Just don't think about anything else. It's not gonna work. Alright. And then for the glove, I'm using this Whirlwind unique item. Alright. And for the helmet, I'm using this one. Oh, sorry, this is not helmet. This is the chest. I'm using this one. So this is doesn't matter. I think doesn't matter which type of barbarian you play. It's always gonna be this one. Alright. You have like up to 40% chance to reduce all the non-ultimate skill cooldown. It's very important. Right? It's very important. And like for the unique item, you cannot reroll the stats, so there's nothing to talk about. And for the helmet, this is not the best one. Alright, shadow resistance is kind of irrelevant, but this legendary power is super cool. The Whirlwind is gonna pull enemy to you, so but you can you will be able to live without it perfectly. Right? This is just gonna be a little bit easier if you're playing Whirlwind Barbarian. And as for the gems, I'm using like 12% increased crit damage to vulnerable enemies. All the weapon gems are the same one. I think it's the green one. Alright, and as for the armor, the gems, it can be like maximum life or 3% damage reduction while fortified. The reason that 3% reduction is really good is you have this thing here. This thing here. Every 75 fury you spend, you will gain fortify. So you are pretty much constantly having fortify. Spending 75 fury, this is like 1.5 seconds channeling of Whirlwind. So you're always going to have this fortify. Alright, so that's why I think this gem is super good. 3% damage reduction. And then for here, the gem is gonna be give you bonus armor. All right, so yeah, I guess that's pretty much it in terms of what type of stats and gem and gear you were looking for. For the paints and chest, like these ones, again, don't go all in on offensives. You need damage reduction, some type of AoE damage reduction from close enemy or stuff like that. Some dodge percentage change, that's also good. You just cannot go all in on offensive skill because you're gonna get one shot once you reach to higher level of Nightmare Dungeon. This is exactly what happened to me. I wasn't able to do 55 because I get one shot. Alright, maybe I will be able to do that once I get to level 90 or something. But survivability is a huge pain for me right now. Like this attack power in terms of a level 86 character is very high. I just need to have more survivability. Alright, so as for the stats, you're gonna aim for crit damage. Alright, crit damage most important. And vulnerable damage, because the first 3 seconds you hit the enemy will automatically be applied vulnerable. And most of non-elites are gonna get eliminated within 3 seconds. Alright, so all the other ones are additive. All the other ones starting here are additive. So don't worry too much about it. You're gonna get these ones as high as possible. Overpowered damage, don't worry about too much. Alright, it's only 3%. It's only 3%. Don't worry too much about overpowered damage. And the resistance, I think it's pretty much irrelevant. Alright, currently resistance is super underwhelming, and the maximum life is obviously good, and you'll get fortify automatically, which is a small shield, right? It's a small shield, and then you have to have damage reduction. It's super important. Otherwise, you're gonna get one shot. Alright, so maximum fury and some fury reduction. Oh, by the way, for the helmet and neck pieces, you should get some cooldown reduction. I know I don't have any on my account, on my character. Oh, I have one here. Cooldown reduction. It's very important. I think you can get it from the helmet and from the neck piece. Maybe you can have up to 25% cooldown reduction. That is huge. Alright, 25% cooldown reduction is huge. Right now I have 12%. Not bad, 12%. Right? And yeah, that's pretty much it. That's pretty much it. Like this neck piece is pretty much perfect. Look at this, +3 rank of all defensive skill and brawling skill. That's all the shouts, right? And yeah, my gear still has a lot of improvement I can make. But right now, at this stage of the game, I probably get like one good piece out of 500 piece. So it's really hard to get an improvement. That's why I'm saying to all players that don't rush leveling. Just try to do more content that gives you better gear instead of rushing those experience dungeon. You don't have to rush those experience dungeon, right? So yeah, that's gonna be it for this video. Hope this video helps you guys to choose which stats you should go for. And let me know if you have any thoughts on this. Did I miss anything or did I say anything wrong? Let me know in the comments, and I will see you guys in a video soon. Bye.